Hello everyone. Today's topic is barriers to effective communication. So, communication barriers are obstacles that hinder the effective exchange of information, ideas, or emotions between individuals or groups. Communication barriers are the barriers between the sender and receiver because of the message losing its original form of art. And sometimes the barriers harm the message in many ways. The damage is done in such extent that the form of the message is completely changed. Like these are the factors that prevent a message from being understood as intended by the sender. Sender किस intention से उस message को send कर रहा है, the receiver is not understanding it accordingly. So in previous chapters we studied about the elements of communication process. So barriers or noise are one of the elements of communication process or communication cycle. There are many kinds of barriers like physical barriers, psychological barriers, and language barriers. Physical barriers are noise, poor lighting, technological issues. All these are physical barriers. And if we look according to the organizational point of view or any kind of hospital, then these are the following barriers. Barriers due to superior subordinate relationship. See, the large number of managerial issues are because of faulty communication within the organization. The superior, they don't understand what is the psychological or emotional side of the subordinate, and the subordinate is not ready to follow his ideas or his policies. The superior, owing to his position, he offers advice and comment on the subject and the discussion before listening fully what the subordinate has to say. The failure of the superior to listen to the emotional content of the subordinate and the failure to understand his true feelings and emotions they concerning a particular problem which results in subordinate curtailing useful information in the future. See, अगर वो उसकी इमोशनल नीड्स को वो क्या कहना चाहता है, वो किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अपनी कोई सिचुएशन या अपनी कोई कंसर्न को उसके आगे रखना चाहता है अपने सुपीरियर के आगे, तो इफ ही इज नॉट लिसनिंग टू दैट प्रॉपर्ली, तो सो इन फ्यूचर ही विल नॉट tell everything in detail. He will hide few things from him. Similarly, the if the subordinate is not ready to follow his advices, not ready to follow his orders, then also the communication becomes very difficult. The problem of semantic distortions. Language is the most powerful among all the mediums of communication, and careless use of language creates a communication barrier. The difficulties in understanding language creates semantic problems. Like in India, there are different languages, so sometimes it becomes quite difficult to understand each other's language. So this problem should be resolved quickly. Use of multiple meaning words. Usually, communication takes place through words, whether written or spoken. So, words have different meanings in different contexts, and it's easy for the receiver to get a different meaning of the word than what the sender's intention was. So, like there are multiple meanings, idioms, phrases, technical words, assumptions, wrong interpretations. First is like wrong interpretation or direction. Word make sentences sometimes careless use of words creates problems for the receiver. Like if a political in a political rally, the leader says we have set up a system which has no place for poverty. So poor people will not live in a state. So this after this announcement, the voters thought that the poor people will be expelled from the company, so from the state. So this is the wrong interpretation और डायरेक्शन उस बातों का रॉन्ग वे में या उल्टा मतलब ले लेना. Use of administrative and technical words. People related to some special techniques or those who work in administration sometimes they use technical and administrative words while communicating, which is difficult to understand. Like in a hospital, if a doctor is talking to you and he is using his medical terms, he's explaining some disease in his own medical terms, then you will not be able to understand it. So, use of administrative and technical words are also become a barrier to effective communication. And if the sender and receiver belong to different fields, the use of technical words then they create communication barriers. Undefined assumptions, like the sender sometimes assumes that the receiver is aware of the message background while the receiver does not know. Like on the notice board of an office, it was written the office will be closed from Tuesday to Friday. But some workers they thought that they have to come on Tuesday and then they have to come again on Friday. So office was locked both on Tuesday and Friday. The manager had given the information assuming that the office would be closed on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and it will open on Friday. The workers assumed that Friday would also be a holiday and Tuesday will be open. So in this way, undefined assumptions are barriers to effective communication. Use of idioms and phrases sometimes to make the message more interesting. People use like there is a cutthroat competition, so we will have to work harder. So the laborers who can't understand these idioms, who can't understand these phrases, they will think that if they don't work harder, their throats will be cut. So it is a kind of communication barrier. Barriers are rising on account of premature evaluation. Good listening is important for success in anything one does in life. For a complete message to be transmitted, the communicator needs an environment in which he can take his full position. One should not attempt to evaluate communication unless a proper understanding is gained. Premature evaluation response tends to stop the transfer of information. So a sender is sending an information and the receiver is evaluating it very, very early. And he's assuming things on his own accord. That 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 causes a barrier in effective communication between the two of them. Barriers due to perfunctory attention, like people's mindset, people feelings, the knowledge, feelings, experience, their behavior, their viewpoint, concentration, trust. When the mindset of the sender and receiver are not favorable, barriers are created in the communication between the two. Like the sender is giving some, like the manager is providing some information about the company or any product, but the employees are not interested in listening to them, or he is telling about new policies, and and the workers are not in a state to understand it, or they are not feeling good about the new policies, then there is a kind of distortion between the two of them. Behavior and attitudes are big barriers. Every person has different behavior. If the receiver has semi behavior and attitude of that sender, the response will be positive. If they are in coordination with each other, the sender is sending a message and the receiver is listening to him in the same way, in the same manner and same attitude, then there will be a positive response. But if there is some change of policy in an organization and it's contrary to the attitude and behavior of the workers, they will give a negative impulse. Like in a company, if there is a change in a policy, in company policy, in wages or something, and the workers are not liking it, then they will not give a positive response to the communication. Emotions and mood, if the sender is angry, tense, or excited, he will not be able to send the message properly. His tone will be different, his language will be different, and similarly it will also be affected by the mood of the receiver. If his mood is not normal, he will not be able to take the message properly. He will not be able to listen. He will not want to listen the what the sender wants to in comply. Closed mind, a person who is prejudiced and works with a closed mind is very difficult to communicate with. He can never think that any other person can also give a good idea. Like someone who is not able to listen, someone who is not able to take someone's advice or someone's wisdom. A closed mind is a person who thinks that only his judgment or only his decisions are good. So that also causes a distortion in communication. He will not he will not be ready to listen to the other person. Inattention nature is such that when a new idea comes up, a man does not pay any attention to it because the opinions habits, and feelings that he already has will prevent the new ideas from entering the mind. A new idea brings with it feelings of instability and clarity. This is the reason the new idea is brought to notice of officers. They are naturally not able to pay much attention. Many people they don't pay attention to to what to the new ideas or new policies because they are not ready to accept it. Poor retention. It is a common knowledge that every person is different from other ones. Some people can remember many things, some people can remember only 50% of things. तो poor retention किसी चीज को याद करने की पावर जो होती है retention is to remember things, to acquire that knowledge and to uh, learn it, to remember it. So poor retention is a major barrier to communication. Barriers due to failure to communicate. Some managers are generally overloaded with work and they fail to communicate properly with the employees at right time. So it might be also be the result of the laziness of the managers or partly due to his inability to select what to communicate. So in any case, failure to communication breaks the communication network, which is an important factor in any organization. Communication between the managers and the subordinates. Barriers are arising on account of resistance to change. Some people prefer old patterns, old ideas, old technologies, old attitudes, old beliefs. So, any communication which attempts to introduce change or convey new ideas, so they don't want to accept it. Many are some cultural barriers also, like people coming from different cultural backgrounds, they don't want to accept different culture or different kind. They have their own beliefs, so they can't accept a new change. How to improve communication or how to remove these communication barriers? First is orientation of employees. So many possible conflicts and misunderstandings can be avoided by providing the subordinates with the information related to company's objectives. Means the subordinates should be well informed. There should be effective communication and continuous communication between the employees and the employers. Developing proper interpersonal relationships. To develop proper relations between different people working in an organization, the subordinates should be free and frank to transmit complete and correct information to the former, and superiors must appreciate useful criticism and benefit suggestions from their subordinates. Superiors and subordinates should develop a feeling of mutual trust and confidence, and the managers should communicate through personal contact and emphasize that communication is a two-way process. Protective listening, paying full attention to what is to be said, allowing the speaker to state its viewpoint, and the superiors must develop the habit of patient listening. They should not be quick to evaluate or quick to judge before understanding properly what are the problems of the workers. If a worker is bringing some problem, uh, he he wants to convey some information, then the superiors must listen to them patiently. Using proper language in order the communication may be clear and effective. Proper language is very important because use of technical terms should be minimized and communication should be simple and clear. Seven C's of communication it is, which we have studied earlier. Seven C's of communication helps in overcoming barriers. These are completeness, conciseness, clarity, correctness, concreteness, consideration, and courtesy. Like every communication must be complete. The messages keep the receiver guessing. If it is keeping the receiver guessing and misunderstandings, then there will be barriers. Every person should be provided with facts and figures. The message should be complete. It should provide all necessary information. Then it should be brief and should be able to say whatever one has to say in fewest possible words. क्योंकि जितनी लंबी conversation चलती रहेगी, जितनी लंबी बात चलती रहेगी, the people tend to get bored out. Avoid wordy expressions. deliver your message well. Unnecessary repetition should not be there. Clarity should be there in simple terms. Language should be simple and with short sentences. It should be well organized. The if sentences should be effective. Then correctness. There should be right level of language and accuracy. The facts and figures should be correct, and the transmission of incorrect information which spoils the public image of the verb also. To convey correct messages, grammatical errors should also be avoided. Outdated information, they should also be avoided. Concreteness, it is an essential requirement. It means being specific, definite, and vivid rather than vague. Correct, concrete expressions like specific facts, figures, they should be used. In oral communication, precise words should be chosen, not lengthy words, and there should be relevant facts. Whatever you are speaking, you should speak according to the facts and not according to your imagination. Then is consideration. Show audience benefit or interest in the receiver. The sender should think and look from the receiver's angle also, that whether what kind of audience he is having, what cultural background they have. You should show sympathy, empathy, avoid using negative words, show audience benefit or interest in the receiver, and he should understand, focus on the needs of the receiver. His socio psychological background is also should be understood. Courtesy, it means use of polite words, please, thank you. Then things are said with force and assertive without being rude. In business discussions, the politeness is very essential. It is necessary that you respect the other person by listening to him. And communication through action and deeds, when the message is communicated without being acted upon, it tends to distort the correct and subsequent communication. So management must make sure that whatever they are speaking, what they are communicating, whatever plans they are making, they should act on it. If they are saying that they will give allowance or they will give benefits to the workers or employees who are working good, who are being productive, then they should provide incentives to those workers. Then strategic use of grapevine. Grapevine we have already studied. It's a informal type of communication. So grapevine is also an essential part of communication network. Though it suffers from number of limitation, but this informal communication cannot be standard. Like maximum use must be made of informal communication. Grapevine may be used to effect prompt action. Strategic use of grapevine will go a long way in improving the effectiveness of communication. Sometimes the manager or the superiors want to convey some message to the subordinates, but they can't do it formally. So grapevine is an effective way to convey those messages to the employees. So a strategic use of grapevine is very important, not in a rumored way. Feedback, feedback is important. Like we studied in the last chapter, that feedback is important in improving communication. A positive feedback will encourage the person, and performance reports, questions, suggestions, listening are also useful in providing the necessary feedback. A message communicated face to face provides useful feedback in the form of facial expressions of the listener. And it is the simplest way to ensure that the communication has resulted in mutual understanding is to observe the behavior of the subordinate and notice how far his actions conform to the requirements of the message. So, feedback is also important. Improving feedback, providing positive feedback through verbal, non-verbal, or through actions is very important in overcoming the barriers of communication. So, that's it for today. Thank you.